If you're looking for a good golf warm-up, then look no further, because in this video you're going to learn 7 exercises that get your whole body prepared, every joint, every muscle, so that you can have a great round and stay injury-free in the process. Hey, it's Wong here from Precision Movement, and today I'm going to show you 7 exercises that you can use as part of your golf warm-up before you tee off to improve not just your mobility, but your control and your stability through at every joint in your body, so that everything is prepared to help you have a great round. Now, one difference that you're going to see if you've done or looked at other dynamic mobility warm-up routines for golf is that we're doing the movements much slower. And the reason why we do that is because that ensures that the muscles are active throughout the full range. And that gives the joint stability, and it helps you to stay injury-free. When you contrast that to exercises like, say, leg swings, where you're using momentum, you're not activating the muscles through the full range compared to doing a leg swing like this. Okay? The difference there is that when I'm throwing it up like that, the muscles aren't active. The muscles are active here a little bit, and then at the end range, it's just momentum taking me there. So we're not fully activating that end range. We're going there, but we're not taking ourselves there. We're not actively bringing our joints to the end range. And when we don't do that, we are not training and warming up stability of that joint. So that's a main difference that you'll see with the exercises that you're going to learn here compared to others. The other big difference that you'll notice is that the movements that I'm going to teach you include very important key technical points. So and I looked on YouTube at other videos, the technical pointers are lacking in a lot of them. Let's just put it that way. And just like golf, it's all about those subtle little details that make your swing better and better. So that's what you're going to learn here. I'm going to take you through each of the exercises, and then I'm going to describe why I've chosen these exercises, and I'm going to teach you the key points to do, and also the common mistakes that people often make when they perform these exercises. So the first one is 6-way neck movement. So the 6 ways, I call it that because you're moving your neck in 6 different directions, okay? But it's very specific how we're going to do it. Now, this is important. This and the next technique are very important because when you're addressing the ball and you are swinging, from what I understand from my limited golfing experiences, you want to keep your head on the ball. As you bring the club back, you don't want to rotate the head up because that's going to make your swing less consistent. So we've got to be able to keep our head on the ball, and mobilizing the neck is going to help you to do that. So here's the technique. Stand up nice and tall and get a double chin to lengthen the cervical spine. And we're going to match our breathing to the movement. So the first 2 movements are flexion and extension. So start with a breath in, and as you exhale, bring your chin to your chest slowly. And then as you inhale, you're going to look up. Exhale into flexion, and inhale into extension. Now, throughout all these movements, make sure you keep your tongue at the roof of your mouth behind your 2 front teeth, and keep your mouth closed. That's just going to help to activate the neck musculature better. So that's the first movement, flexion and extension. The next pair of movements are rotation. So deep breath in, exhale, inhale as you return to center, and exhale as you go the other direction. Inhale, return to center, and then you exhale as you go in either direction. So the key point here is pure head rotation without any compensatory torso rotation. So a lot of times people are limited in rotation, so when they rotate, the shoulders will turn along with the head. That's what you want to avoid. You want to stay tall, keep that double chin, and rotate without moving anything else. Everything neck down stays completely still. So that's the next pair of movements, and the final pair of movements are lateral bending or side bending. So take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, bring your ear to your shoulder. Inhale to neutral, and exhale to the other side. Okay? So for those exercises, you can do anywhere from 2 to 3 repetitions of each, and then you move on. The next technique is a technique that I call a dissociation technique. And dissociation is one of my core concepts, part of my 4-step process to improve mobility and movement longevity. And what it is doing the opposite of commonly associated movement patterns. So, as I mentioned earlier, head rotation is often associated with torso rotation. Just an automatic wiring of the neuromuscular system. Dissociation is essentially doing the opposite of that. Okay? So for this technique, we're dissociating head and torso rotation. So you're going to get into kind of your golf stance in terms of foot width, arms in front, and you want your scapula to be protracted. So your scapula are not pinched back together, but they're wrapped around towards the front of your body. Hands together in front. And what you're going to do is you're going to match the rhythm. So as I rotate my head, I'm going to rotate my torso in the opposite direction. Okay? Stay tall through the spine, and you'll get to end range. At end range, you're continuing to rotate and activate. So it's like I'm trying to turn my head that way more, and I'm also trying to rotate my torso more that way. So the muscles are fired right up. You'll feel the obliques, the abdominals get active there, and that's a good thing. And then you go the other direction. You hold for about 5 seconds, or I like to say one slow 360 breath. Stay tall, balanced in your feet. Keep activating. Slow 360 breath where you expand your torso in all directions. And then you release under control and go in the opposite direction. Okay, so this technique, again, 2 to 3 repetitions per side. Hold for one slow 360 breath at end range. And it's critical that you continue to activate and try to go further in either direction, even though you're not moving because you're at end range. So this technique is directly applicable to being able to keep your head down on the ball as you rotate your torso with the backswing and the follow through as well. Okay, so that's the dissociation technique of head and torso rotation, and that's number 2. Now, you might be thinking, oh, how am I going to remember all this stuff? Well, I've got a follow-along video that you can grab, but I'll tell you about that after we go through the whole routine. Next up is the shoulder circle to crossover. So this technique, again, it looks simple, but when you do it as I instruct, you'll see it's a lot more difficult and challenging than it at first glance. So for this technique, you want to go into shoulder extension, as much extension as you can. So that's putting your arms behind you, elbows stay straight the whole time. Nice balanced stance. And from here, you're doing a big circle without moving your spine or your head, but you're continuing to push your hands back as if I'm trying to touch my hands back behind my body. Elbows stay straight. I'm continuing to try to push my hands back that way the whole time as I go up overhead. Still, I'm trying to push my hands back. Okay, once you get up, you're coming in front and you're crossing your arms over. And it's as if I'm trying to squeeze something in between my biceps here and between my chest as hard as I can, coming all the way down into another repetition. Okay, so that pace is the pace that you want to be doing this technique at. Now this is important because we don't often, from what I've seen in other warm-ups that I've looked at, we don't often train horizontal shoulder flexion here. So that's this range, this end range. We don't often train that. Well, if we're not training that, how are we going to do it effectively on a backswing, okay, or a follow-through? This technique not only gets you open so that your posture, you have good alignment, you can open the chest up, so these muscles aren't restricting you and pulling you forward. It's going to open you up there, but then we bring it around and work that horizontal flexion when we come in front and do the crossover. Okay, so this technique, do about 3 repetitions, and when you do it with that intention and the activation as I show, and at the pace that I show, it's a very effective technique to warm up the shoulders. Next up, behind the back scapular circle. So the scapula is a shoulder blade. This technique, hands behind the back. You want to go as high as you can without rounding forward. So I can get really, really, really high, but if I have to round forward like so, that's not what I want, okay? You want to be able to stand in a nice neutral alignment, bring your hands back, and be able to maintain that alignment. Once you've found the height, the technique is doing circles with your scapula. So forward, protraction, up is elevation, going nice and slow. Keep them up as you retract, and then keep them retracted as you depress. And then again, forward is protraction, elevation, retraction, and depression. So you go in one direction, and then you go in the other direction. Elevation, protraction, depression, retraction. Okay? Doing about 3 to 5 circles in each direction. So the scapula, shoulder movement, so we're getting full range of shoulder and scapular motion, so we can get that big backswing and big follow through. Next up, we have the wrist. So the wrists need to be moving and need to be warmed up, just like any other joint. So what we're gonna do, arms in front, wrist rotations. But we're not just kind of doing this thing, okay? Quick. We're going really slow, and we're trying to make as big of a circle as possible. So start with fists, and the reason why I'm doing fists is because you're grabbing the club with fists. We're going to start radial deviation, so that's bringing towards the middle, and then extension, keeping the fist, keeping a moderate grip, not a super strong grip, and then ulnar deviation, and then flexion. So go in one direction, flexion to radial, radial to extension, extension to ulnar deviation, and then ulnar deviation to flexion. One direction and the other at this pace, nice and slow. And all movements are done at the full ranges. You're trying to expand that range as you do the movement, trying to expand that circle as big as possible. 3 circles in either direction. Next up, quarter squat, hip, internal and external rotation. So the quarter squat is here, and we're doing one leg. Now you could use your club to hang on for balance, or you can just put your foot on the ground and just touch down when you need it, but ideally you're on one leg because that's just going to fire up the stabilizer muscles a little bit more to get more activation. So quarter squat, the key point here is something I call metatarsal pressure. So your weight is distributed amongst your foot evenly, heel to toes, but we want to focus on pushing down through the ball of each toe. So the 5 metatarsals, that's the pressure, metatarsal pressure, okay? So maintain that metatarsal pressure, and keep the quarter squat position, nice alignment, and then slowly from the hip, you're rotating, holding myself here. This is internal hip rotation, and I'm gonna keep firing these muscles up to try to get more internal rotation, even though I'm at end range already. So fire it up, 5 seconds, and then slowly drive yourself out of it using the hip muscles again into external rotation. And again, I'm here at end range, and I'm going to continue to try to get further into external rotation. And then again, internal rotation, trying to pull myself into more internal rotation. 5-second hold, and then slowly control myself out into external rotation for a 5-second hold. All the while maintaining metatarsal pressure. Okay? Now, like I said, if you need to balance on a wall or a golf club, totally fine. It's better to do that than to be flopping all over the place. It's not that you're doing the exercise wrong, it's just that's the level that you're at. Doing the exercise under control, holding on to something is way better because you're still getting that activation. Let's do that. 3 internals and externals on either side, holding for 5 seconds. Next up, the final exercise is the split stance closed chain ankle circle. So ankles are critical for golf. A lot of people will teach ankle circles like this, which is cool, better than nothing. However, golfing, you're on the ground and your body's moving over top of your feet and your ankles, not your ankles or your foot moving around your leg. So closed chain is when our body is stuck or our body is moving and the limb is fixed. Open chain is when the body is fixed and the limbs are moving. So this is an open chain movement or a bench press, open chain movement. A push-up is a closed chain movement. So the split stance closed chain ankle circle, get into a split stance. I'll show you a couple views here. You want to get as much weight up front as you can because that's going to warm up the joints and the muscles in a specific pattern, taking that load. You're going to go over onto the lateral edge, go right into plantar flexion, down into eversion, and then up on the heel, and then rotate around. Again, another technique where balance is not what we're trying to train here, so if you need to hold on to something, you can. Otherwise, do it like I'm showing you. So get the full range, try to full range of every range that we have here. So dorsiflexion, roll around, inversion, go right into plantar flexion and around both directions, okay? Notice the slow pace, the control, and the technique, the precise cueing of the exercises. So, of course, do 3, both sides, do 3 circles in either direction on either side. Okay? So, there you have the warm-up, the 7 exercises that you should do to get your body ready for golf, but in a different way than a lot of stuff you might have seen in the past. If you like this warm-up and the idea of using this, but you think you'd want a follow-along video, something that easier to follow where I don't go through all the explanation, I just take you through the exercises, then follow the link at the end of this video or in the description down below, and you can download the follow-along video where I'll take you through every exercise, do the reps with you, and remind you as we're going of the key pointers to remember. So check out the link, go ahead. You'll also get a PDF download of the exercises and bullet point descriptions of each technique if you just want to print something out and follow it that way. But either way, head over to that link and you can download that completely free and start using this warm-up to have a great rounds out there on the greens and to help keep yourself injury-free so you can keep golfing all summer long and hopefully for the rest of your life.